Namaste. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present, finding a nice, comfortable seated position on a cushion or blanket, block, something that allows the back of your spine, the back of your neck to sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes. Soften our shoulders. Soften our heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on the mat, perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is the throat chakra. As we've talked about, chakra is Sanskrit for wheels, and there are 7 major chakras or wheels of energy that run along our spine. The 5th chakra is the throat chakra. And the throat chakra has its own function in your physical and subtle body, like a room has in your home. Think of the throat chakra as the dining room. Not only do you eat in the dining room, but typically you have conversations, talking and listening, which is both part of the throat chakra. When the throat chakra is in balance, you have good communication with yourself and with others. You listen well to yourself and to others. You are able to express yourself creatively and truthfully. When it's out of balance from being either overactive or underactive or blocked, you may experience physical or emotional disturbances such as a sore throat, a stiff neck, shyness, being too talkative, or feeling unheard. These may be a long-term pattern or a situational event. And yoga's toolkit of asanas, pranayamas, meditations, and even Ayurveda can help balance your chakras. So this morning, our pranayama, our breathing technique, we're going to talk about Ujjai. So Ujjai is also called ocean breath or victorious breath. And I always say, it's the soundtrack to your practice. It comes from the throat, in the back of the throat. So with that Ujjai soundtrack, it communicates to you the truth of your practice. Shallow breath, you need to make an adjustment so that your breath becomes full and easy, and then it's just right. where you are. And I call that sweet spot. So we'll practice Ujjayi when we're doing our practice, asana practice this morning. For our meditation, I'd like to have us do, you're welcome to do it or not, do a mantra. And it's a chant that is probably the most commonly recognized mantra in yoga. It's Om, O-M. And that chant or the mantra can bring a sense of calm and peace and connection with oneself and the universe. And why I chose it is that it's really all done in the throat. So I'm going to do it 3 times. I do kind of a long one, so you can join in if you like, or not. It's totally up to you. So let's begin that. Yeah. And we're going to go to my mat and do a little bit more meditation. And I also have an affirmation for you while we're extending our meditation. The affirmation is, I will speak and listen with confidence and compassion. I will speak and listen with confidence and compassion. You may open your eyes now. So for the throat chakra, it's starts kind of at the top of the shoulders, and it incorporates the neck, which is also the throat, and the chin and the mouth, and includes the ears. So it's about communication. It's about talking and listening, and having that passageway be clear and truthful. So let's start with just a few shoulder shrugs this morning. Kind of gently raise our shoulders up toward our ears and then lower them down toward the mat and do a nice gentle circle. Slowly kind of loosening up our upper body. And then in reverse. Alrighty, and then we're going to do some of our sun breaths. And this is where we bring in the Ujjai, and we'll bring it in later on as well, but just remembering what it is. It's it sounds, again, it's also called ocean breath, so it sounds like the ocean, but I think of it more as Darth Vader's voice. So it's like you can audibly hear the inhale and the exhale coming from the back of your throat. So it kind of goes to the back of your nose and then down to your throat. So it's I don't know if you can hear that. So we've done it quite often. So I ask that you kind of recall how that feels in your throat. So inhale, coming up. And then exhale, bringing your hands down the heart center. Inhale, opening your hands up. That's the Darth Vader part. And then closing your hands, coming back to heart center. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Inhale up. And exhale down. And bring our right hand to our left kneecap and bring our left fingertips behind our hips and just gently turn our torso to the left. Send our gaze straight ahead. And then come back to center, and we'll do that on the other side. Left hand to right knee, right hand right behind our hips. Nice straight back, long neck. Sending our gaze straight ahead. And then back to center. We're going to take our nose and draw circles and look where your nose is heading. So it's going to be quite a big circle. We're going to kind of look to the left and then kind of go up the wall, across the ceiling, down the other wall, over, across the floor, and then back up again, making a circle with your nose and following it with your eyes to the ceiling, to the wall, back down, go along the floor, and one last time, up, across the ceiling, down the wall, and across the floor and back to center. Still loosen up your neck a little. And then we're going to bring our arm, let's start with my left arm, and support it with my, support the elbow with my right hand. So the arm kind of goes across shoulder height here. And then while you're supporting that arm that's going to the left, send your nose over to the right. And again, using your Ujjayi breath, see how far to the left you can send your nose, but also have a nice, full, deep breath. And then bring your head back to center. And then we're going to take our left arm and send it over our head at a 90-degree angle. Your right hand still on your left elbow. And then take your left hand and drop it down to your shoulder. So this is part of like a cow-faced hands. And just feel the stretch there for a moment. And then with your left hand, you're going to drop that to the mat, leaving your right arm over, kind of sitting on your head. And then we're going to drop our head, our right ear toward our right shoulder, and then gently place our right hand on our left ear. So you're not pulling it, you're just kind of gently resting it there. And your head's tipping its right ear toward the right shoulder. And then we'll release that hand down to the mat. And we'll do that all on the other side. So we'll start with a circle and go in the opposite direction. So I was going clockwise. I'm going to go counterclockwise now, going along the floor, up the wall, sending my gaze and nose across the ceiling, down the wall again, across the floor. We'll just make 3 full circles. And then across the floor, over to the wall, up to the ceiling for the last time, coming down the wall, and then coming back to center. We'll take the right arm now and send it across shoulder height and support the right elbow with our left hand. And then gently send our gaze over to the right, looking over our right shoulder. And then we'll send that right arm up above our head at a right angle. And then drop the right hand down toward the right shoulder. And just kind of stretch out here for a moment. And then we'll release the right hand back down to the mat, leaving the left arm above our head or kind of resting on our head. And then turn or send our left ear down to our left shoulder and gently rest the left hand on our right ear. And then release that hand, bring your head back to center. Then we'll come in onto our hands and knees into tabletop. So we'll send our wrist right below our shoulders. Fingers are spread wide apart. Weights evenly distributed into each hand. Knees are right below the hips. Navel's tucked to the spine. And we'll send our nose to the right, as if we're saying no. And then we're going to gently bring it back to center and then over to the left. And just kind of go nice even flow back and forth, over to the right, back to center, over to the left, back to center, back to the right side one last time, back to center, and then over to the left, back to center, and then back to tabletop. And then we'll start cat and cows. So exhaling, we're going to round our back, dropping the crown of our head and the tailbone down, stretching out the spine. And then inhale, lifting our head and tailbone up, sending our gaze straight ahead. And then exhale, rounding the back again. Head and tailbone go down. Inhale up, raising our head and tailbone up, sending our gaze straight ahead. And then exhaling, and let's just do a nice even flow here using the Ujjai breath. Inhale, up to to cow pose. Exhale to cat using your Ujjai breath. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. And then come back to tabletop. Tuck your toes under and walk your hands back, coming to the balls of your feet, pushing down and coming up to mountain pose. Bring our toes to the straight edge of the mat, line them up. We'll just lift our toes up off the mat, spreading the toes far apart as possible. I have one foot that works a little bit better than the other foot. And then coming back down, lifting the heels up off the mat and then bringing them back down. Just feeling that grounding sensation that mountain pose provides. That strength in your legs, that foundation, which is part of the root chakra. And then the sacral chakra is about mobility and fluidity. So you're going to have your knees bent just a little bit to create that balance, that fluid motion. And then up to your solar plexus, right where your navel is. You can tuck that navel into your spine, really straightening up your spine and the back of your neck. And then you move that strength to softening of the heart chakra. Heart chakra is about love. And then up today to the throat chakra. And that's about communication. You want to tuck your chin just slightly back so that the back of your neck, because that's where it's all about, is nice and long and in line with your spine. And then the third eye, we're sending our gaze straight ahead. And then the last chakra is the crown chakra. So inhale, lifting your hands up toward the sky, bringing your hands back down to the mat, bending your knees as you go, supporting your lower back. Inhale, lifting your hands to your shins, nice flat back, nice long spine, long back of your neck by sending your gaze straight down. And then forward fold, sending the crown of your head down toward the mat. And just let gravity take over for a moment and check in. How are you feeling today? And then we'll sweep our hands from the floor all the way up overhead. And as we bring them up over our head, we'll come up onto our tippy toes. And then, whoops, and then we'll bring our hands down slowly with the Ujjai breath, bringing our heels down at the same time. And we'll do 2 more of these. So sweeping up, slowly listening to your breath. And then exhale down. And one last time, sweeping up, coming up onto your tippy toes as your hands rise up above your head. And then exhale, coming down. Lowering your heels slowly with control. And we'll send our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees. And then our hands will come to our shins, nice flat back, nice long neck, sending our gaze straight down. And a tendency to look up, but if you can just stare right down to the mat or to the floor, really lengthening the spine and the back of the neck, creating one nice line. And then sending the crown of your head down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. And we'll take the right hand and wrap the hand around the left wrist. And then we're going to guide that left hand over to the right side. It's the variation on our side stretch today. And then coming back up. We'll switch hands. Left hand wraps around the right wrist. Send the right fingers over toward the left. And listen for your breath. And then come back up. And then bring your hands back down to the mat, bending your knees as you go. Inhale, hands to shins, nice flat back again, nice long neck. The top of the head reaches down toward the mat. And then sweeping your hands all the way up again. All the way up overhead, palms come together. And then we're going to lower our hands with our arms straight out in front of us. And we'll do a few what I call 180s. So we're going to take our right hand, make a semicircle with it, and then we'll follow that hand with our eyes as we bring the left fingers to the shoulder, top of the shoulder, and send our gaze along with our fingers to the back of the room, really turning our head. We're keeping our torso as toward the front as much as possible. And then coming back slowly, making that semicircle with our hand, following it with our gaze. Bringing our left hand out to join the right hand, and then we'll do that on the other side. So slowly making that semicircle with our left hand, bringing the right hand to the left shoulder. Bringing it as far back as it's comfortable for you. And then we'll come back to center. Bringing both hands back out together and then lifting the hands up overhead and then setting them both down to the mat, down to the floor, bending our knees as we go. Hands come to our shins, nice flat back. Crown of the head reaches down toward the mat. And sweeping our hands all the way up. Hands come up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And palms come to the back of your hips. We'll go into our supported back bend. So our feet are about hip width apart. Palms of our hands are on the back of our hips. Shoulders are relaxed. Chins tucked in toward our neck. Then we'll gently drop our shoulders back. And again, this is a great spot to find that truth in your sweet spot. If the breath is shallow, you may want to adjust, make some modification upward. And just finding that nice even flow of breath. Alrighty, we'll come right back up. Continue on. So we'll sweep our hands up overhead. And then bringing our hands down to the mat. Fingertips reaching the mat. We bring our hands to our shins. Nice flat back, nice great neck. And then bringing the hands back down to the mat, we'll place them down on the mat and send our right foot back, coming into runner's lunge. So our hands are framing the front foot. Knee is right over the ankle. Our back foot, we're on the ball of our foot, pushing the heel back. Nice big stretch for runner's lunge. And then placing our right hand on the mat, we're going to sweep our left hand all the way up to the sky, following our hands with our gaze. And then bringing that hand back down to the mat. We're going to bring our right knee down to the mat, top of our right foot down to the mat. Coming into low lunge. And then we're going to rise up. You're going to bring your hands to the top of your knee. Just get comfortable here for a moment. And then we're going to bring our arms out in goalposts. We'll just kind of take a look, turn our head to the right, look at our right fingertips, and then back to center, and then over to the left. Look at our left fingertips. And then back to center. Bring both hands back down to the mat. Come back to runner's lunge, tucking your toes under. And then we'll bring the left foot back to join the right foot coming into plank pose. Wrists are right below the shoulders. Navel's tucked to the spine, lifting your hips slightly. Heels are pushing back. And then we'll come down to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga, keeping our elbows tucked toward our ribs. And then keeping our hands right under our shoulders, we'll place our chin on the mat just for a moment. And then lift both hands and chin up, stretching out that neck. And then bringing the chin and hands back down to the mat. And then lifting the hands and the chin up again, baby cobra. And then back down to the mat. And one last time, lifting the chin and the hands up off the mat. And then place the hands back down on the mat and slide them forward, coming into Sphinx pose. So our elbows are right below the shoulders. Tops of our feet are nice and snug in the mat and activating our legs. Our chest is reaching forward. We're going to talk about one part of the throat chakra, the mouth. And I would like to have you turn both corners of your mouth up toward your ears and create a smile. So looking up, there's quite a few health benefits to smiling. Number one is it helps you live longer, and that has to do with releasing endorphins and, well, the rest of it too, you'll see. Number two, relieves stress. 3, it elevates your mood. 4, it may lower blood pressure. And 5, they say a smile is contagious. So I know when we're watching TV and there's a comedy, besides the words that are spoken, just to see the comedian smiling and laughing, it makes you smile and laugh as well. Alrighty, so we're going to, from here, we're going to go into dolphin pose. So keeping your elbows where they are, I'm going to have you kind of connect your knees to the mat, tucking your toes under, come up onto your knees, just slightly, and then come onto the balls of your feet into dolphin pose. So your arms are still in that Sphinx pose, right? Elbows right below the shoulders. And then you have that plank where the navel's tucked to the spine, heels are pushed back, and you're in plank or in dolphin pose. And then bring your knees down to the mat and push up to tabletop and then down to child's pose. And then we'll come back up to tabletop, tuck our toes under, lift our hips up to the sky, and come into downward dog. We'll pedal out here for a few moments. Arms are nice and straight, strong. Fingers are gripping the mat, index finger pointing forward. Chest is reaching toward the thigh to elevate your hips. Just walk your dog out, maybe take for a little brisk walk. And then we'll slowly walk our feet up to our hands, coming into forward fold. And then very slowly, we're gonna bend our knees and then slide our hands all the way up our legs. over the knees, over the thighs, and roll ourselves all the way up, and then send our arms up to the sky. Palms come together, palms come down the heart center. And then we're going to turn to the side of the mat. Come into a wide-legged stance. Our toes are pointing to the corners of the mat. Heels tucked in about 45 degrees. And then we'll bring our arms up again to goalposts. And this time we're going to bring our hand and just gently touch our ear. So it's kind of like, what'd you say? What'd you say? We'll do that on each side. And as we do that, we're going to bend our knees. So we're going to bend our knees down, bring our hand to our ear, kind of tip our head over toward our hand, like you're asking, what'd you say? And then back again. And then on the other side, what'd you say? And then back again. And we'll do this a few more times on each side, staying in that goddess squat. So over to the right, tipping our head to the right, hand comes to the ear, and then back upright, tipping over to the left, hand comes to the ear, and then back upright. And one last time, on the right side, hand comes to the ear, and then back up, and on the left, and then back up. And then we'll bring our legs straight, drop our hands. We're going to lean over, pivot from the waist. We bring our hands down to the mat, and then point our toes to the long side of the mat. So take them out of that angled pose. We'll walk our hands over to the right foot, and then walk them over to the left foot, and then walk them over to the right foot. And as we reach the right foot, we're going to pivot both feet, come into a runner's lunge. And then bring our back knee down to the mat. Back to low lunge. Place our hands on our knee. Get comfortable. And then bring our hands up to goalposts again. And then look to the right hand, or to the left hand, either one. And then back to center. And then look the other direction to the hand. And back to center. Place both hands back down on the mat. Tuck your back toe under, coming back to runner's lunge. Then we're going to slide the back foot up toward our front foot, coming at it at a 45-degree angle. And as we do that, we're going to straighten out with keeping a nice bend in the front knee. And you can be in this pyramid shape. Or if you like to have a little bit more of a challenge, you can bring your hand to the inside of your foot, and then sweep the other hand up to the sky and come into triangle pose. And then back down, back to runner's lunge. And then we're going to take the back foot and bring it to meet the front foot, coming into a forward fold. And then slowly run our hands all the way up our legs. So we slowly come back up to mountain pose, sweeping our hands up overhead. Palms come together, and palms come to heart center. We'll do that again on the other side. So sweeping our hands up overhead. Big inhale, exhale, bringing our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. And then bringing our hands to our shins. Nice flat back, long neck. Nice, create one nice straight line. And then bringing our hands down to the mat. We'll send our left foot back, coming into runner's lunge. The left hand is on the mat, sweeping the right hand up to the sky. You follow that hand with your eyes. And then back down again. And then bring the back knee down to the mat, top of the back foot down, coming into low lunge. And place both hands on your knee and just find a nice comfortable spot here. And then bringing your arms up to goalposts. We're going to look to one side, send our gaze to one hand, and then back to front. And then send it over to the other hand, and then back to the front. Send both hands back down to the mat. Tuck your back foot under, coming back to runner's lunge. And then the right foot goes back to meet the left foot, coming into plank pose. So we'll just stay in plank pose for a second. Get nice and aligned. And then we can lower down either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga, keeping our elbows tucked to the sides. Bringing our chin to the mat, keeping our hands under our shoulders. And then lifting our chin and hands up off the mat. Baby cobra, bringing it back down. And lifting our hands and chin up again. And then back down. And one last time, lifting the chin and hands up. Bringing the hands back down and sliding them out in front, coming into Sphinx pose. Then your elbows are right below your shoulders, creating a nice 90-degree angle. Tops of your feet are snug in the mat, activating your legs. The corners of your mouth are turned up toward your ears. Remember, the mouth and the ears are all part of the throat chakra. So expressing yourself. So continue on with the 10 benefits of smiling. Number 6 is that it boosts the immune system. Number 7 is it reduces pain. Number 8, I like, makes you attractive. For someone my age, it kind of takes out those wrinkles. It's very nice. Number 9, it suggests confidence and success. And number 10, it helps you to stay positive. So let's go positively into our dolphin pose. So tucking your toes under and lifting up onto toward your knees, but slightly up, not fully all the way. And then coming onto your toes, keeping your elbows on the mat for dolphin pose. And then bringing your knees down to the mat, hands come up and come into tabletop, and then lowering your hips down to child's pose. And then we'll come back up to tabletop, tuck the toes under, lift our hips up to downward dog, and we'll walk out our dog a little bit. And slowly walk our feet up to our hands, coming into a forward fold. And then dragging our hands from our feet up our legs, up to our thighs. And then sending our arms up overhead. Palms come together. And palms come to heart center. And then we'll come and face the long side of the mat again. Feet are at right angles, toes pointing to the corners. And we'll do that. Hello again. So bringing our arms up to goal posts. We'll bend our knees, coming into that goddess squat. And then we'll just kind of bring our left hand to our left ear. Hello. Back up again. Right hand to the right ear. Back up again. Left hand to the left ear. Back up again. Right hand to the right ear. Back up again. One last time on the left. And then one last time on the right. And then you can straighten your legs, bring your arms down. You'll have your toes pointing toward the long side of the mat, straight ahead. And pivoting at the waist, we'll bring our hands down to the mat. And we'll walk our hands over to the left, back to center, over to the right, back to center, and then over to the left again. And then as we go to the left, we're going to pivot both feet, coming into a runner's lunge. And then bring the knee down to the mat. Top of the foot comes down to the mat. Lifting our hands up to our knee. And then sending our hands up into goalposts. We'll look to one hand. And then back to the straight head. And then look to the other hand. And then back straight ahead, putting both hands down. Coming back to runner's lunge. We'll slide that back foot up a little bit, make a 45-degree angle, come into pyramid pose. And if you'd like, you can send it up to triangle pose. And then we'll bring that hand back down. Come back to runner's lunge. And then we'll bring the right foot up to meet the left foot. Slowly slide our hands all the way up our legs. Really come to our waist. And then send them up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. And then we'll take our pinky toes, move them over to the edges of the mat, tucking our heels in side at a 45-degree angle. Palms at heart center, hands at heart center, Anjali Mudra. And then slowly lowering our hips down toward the mat. Torso comes between the legs. Elbows are resting on the inner part of the knees for a wide-legged squat. And then we'll bring our sit bones down to the mat. We'll tuck our hands underneath our knees, and then roll back and come to knees to chest, giving our knees a nice hug. And then we'll rock back and forth just to give a nice gentle massage to our lower back. And then we'll place both feet back on the mat. Our knees are about hip width apart and our heels are tucked up toward our hips. Coming into bridge pose, we're going to put both hands down on the mat alongside us, palms facing down to support us. And then we'll do a navel tuck, creating that bowl. That's kind of the cat pose. And then release that, kind of extend our back, coming into the the cow part of it. And then again, we'll tuck our navel in, creating that bowl, pushing down into our feet. We'll gently lift our hips up toward the sky and just come up as far as what's comfortable. We're going to do this 3 times so you can increase your height each time. You don't have to go for it the first time. Gaze is straight up, and you feel that action on your neck there. And then slowly lowering back down to the mat, connecting with the mat 1 vertebra at a time. And we'll do our tucking the navel in, creating that bowl for cat. And then cow, arching a little bit. And then tuck in for cat again, pushing down the feet, lifting the hips up toward the sky. Maybe come up just a little bit higher. Maybe the tops of your shoulders starting to curl under your torso there. And then slowly lowering again, 1 vertebra at a time, back down. And one last time, navel tucked in, create that bowl, and arch slightly, tuck in, creating that bowl, pushing down, lifting up to the sky. And if you try to reach a little further up. And now I'd like you to take your hands and bend your elbows so that when you bring your torso or your spine back down, your hands are going to be underneath your glutes, your butt. So slowly lower down till you land and your back of your hands are touching against your butt and maybe the sacrum, the bone in the back. Elbows are bent. And then we're going to lift our knees up and then lift our feet up to the sky. So we're doing legs up a wall. And you can stay in the legs up the wall, or if you like a little bit more of a challenge, you can come into shoulder stand. So I'm going to bend my knees again, give myself a little boost, reach my hands on my waist, come into a shoulder stand. And then I bend my knees and gently roll out of this. And send my feet down to the bottom of the mat, preparing for Shavasana. And you send your feet out to the corners of the mat and just let them flop open. Just let your arms flop open, palms reaching toward the sky. Arms a little bit out from the side. Big inhale. And a big exhale. Just releasing all your muscles and your bones into the mat. gently placing a smile on your lips. And today's poem I have for you is by Mary Oliver, titled Spring. And here is the serpent again, dragging himself out from his nest of darkness, his cave under the black rocks, his winter death. He slides over the pine needles. He loops around the bunches of rising grass, looking for the sun. Well, who doesn't want the sun after the long winter? I step aside. He feels the air with his soft tongue. Around the bones of his body, he moves like oil. Downhill he goes, towards the black mirrors of the pond. Last night, it was still so cold. I woke and went out to stand in the yard, and there was no moon. So I just stood there, inside the jaw of nothing. An owl cried in the distance. I thought of Jesus, how he crouched in the dark for 2 nights, then floated back above the horizon.